I feel like I should be on an episode of Hoarders. I've been saving all of Traxxas option part foam, and I don't know why. We are back with our Traxxas Rustler 4x4 project build, and this is video number 3. I did an intro video and then the suspension video, which was actually part 1, and then this is going to be part 2, and this time we're talking about the drivetrain. So I got a couple of neat parts to put on the truck. Got some of the Traxxas constant velocity drive shafts and some hexes for the wheels and stuff. So why don't we just head over to the bench and we'll get to work on installing this cool stuff. And I'll tell you why you might want to get it for your Traxxas Rustler. I think this is going to be another easy round of option part installs on the Traxxas Rustler 4x4. And what I'm going to start off with is this bearing adapter right here. Now this goes in the slipper clutch assembly, so it's going to require us to pull the rear of the vehicle off. Luckily, that is really easy to do because it's only 4 screws and you'll be able to pull the slipper assembly out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and pull that out and I'll show you exactly where this part goes. And the reason why you want to swap this out is, well, this is a nice machined aluminum part where the stock part is a composite plastic and that may wear. So just reduce the chances of that happening and we'll just swap this out. So in less than 2 minutes, you'll be able to pull the rear section off of the vehicle by just removing 4 screws. And once you pull it off, basically this piece falls out right here. This is the slipper clutch assembly. And this right here in this area is where that bushing is. So we're going to take a 2mm hex driver and remove the spline end here, and then we are going to back off the slipper nut with a 8mm nut driver. I actually have a glow plug wrench here, which is 8mm, so I'll be able to pull that off. One thing I like to tell people to do is to know where the tension nut is. That way when you go and put everything back together, you know where it needs to be. All right, with the slipper nut off, now I can just take the spring off, and we could pull off that composite plastic bushing there with the bearing because they give you a new bearing with the new machined aluminum unit. You just slide that right back on, put your slipper spring back on, and tighten down the slipper nut. I just put the slipper unit back into the chassis assembly and then put on the rear clip. You might have to turn the drive shaft a little bit in the center to kind of line things up so everything falls in place. But once you do that, you just put the 4 screws back on and the rear clip is secured. Okay, now it's time to move on to our drive shafts. And these come pre-built from Traxxas. So this is going to be a really easy install as well. All we have to do here is we have to pull the screw out of the camber link. We have to remove the screw pin from the original yoke and then pop off the outside hex in order to take the pin out to get the rest of the drive shaft out. This is going to be pretty easy as well. So the rear telescoping universal drive shafts are out and, they get the job done, but these new units from Traxxas are really nice. All steel, they've got rubber boots on them and everything, and Traxxas even went and put a little thread lock on the end of the axle here to make sure that the wheel nut stays on. So this, just literally slips right in place of the old one. So basically just reverse the steps and you'll be able to assemble everything. The new drive shafts are in place and they look awesome and they're a lot stronger than the stock units and really just super easy to swap out. In fact, it's so easy I just went ahead and did it to the front as well. Basically the same steps of pulling the outer screw out of the upper tie rod, removing the screw from the yoke, and then just sliding out the drive shaft and installing the new one. Just make sure you swap over your bearings. Make sure you keep track of any washers that come off. There's washers on the outside and we're going to put those back on in a second here. The other thing I did want to tell you just to be aware of, the drive shafts are specific to the rear and the front. So if you're replacing one or both at the same time, just be aware of where you're putting the drive shafts because they are unique to the front and rear. The other thing I wanted to mention is the screw pins that go into the yoke. Make sure you use the new ones that come with the new drive shafts because they got a little bit of Loctite on them and it'll just ensure that that screw stays in there. Okay, now I didn't put the wheel hexes back on. That's because we're upgrading to some aluminum wheel hexes, and these are really easy to go on. And I am going to use the new pins that came with it. I like to swap out the hardware that they give you. Just kind of ensures that your vehicle is in top condition. So let me show you how these look on the truck. And there we have it. The drivetrain upgrades are complete on our Rustler 4x4. We've got that adapter in the slipper clutch now. We've got our new drive shafts. We got our new hexes. And I do actually have some serrated lock nuts to use to secure the wheels, but you know what? I will throw those on when we put the new wheels on. So these are some really worthwhile upgrades to do to your Rustler 4x4. Drive shafts are much stronger. The wheel hexes are much stronger than plastic. That slipper clutch adapter in there, less likely to wear. So, you know, if you are looking for recommendations for your vehicle, I would definitely put those on the want list. All right, so that wraps up this particular video. We'll see you back at the next one where we talk about some exterior options.